All right, just getting started. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this. This is Andy coming to you live from andy@trigger.com. For the guys watching in the group, I deeply appreciate you. Thank you so much for being in the group. You're amazing. Hope you get some value from today's video. Now, if you are watching or listening to the podcast, welcome to my podcast. This is the Brand to Sell podcast. For the guys watching on YouTube, again, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna give you some free resources. Now, if you're in the home business industry, one of the most important things that you need to understand how to do is you need to understand how to brand yourself to get enough results in your business. And I wasn't getting results in my business until I learned this very thing, and I'm going to be sharing a resource with you. Now, we've compiled a free ebook. Now, this ebook would allow you to understand the basics of branding yourself, and also teach you some very, should I say, sneaky tools or sneaky ways, should I say sniper ways of branding yourself without coming across as, or pretending to be something you are not, right? Because today there's a lot of people online pretending to be what they are not. And that was my biggest concern when I started understanding why I needed to brand. I didn't want to come across as something I was not, because you cannot lie to yourself. Now, this ebook would help you to brand yourself effectively in the capacity and the power that you have and the value that you have. Is ideas from some of the greatest minds on in this industry. Also, people from, should I say, from the corporate world that have built good brands from the corporate world. So you can actually start using some of these ideas in your business today and start getting results. Just simply head on over to brand to sell.online and you'll be able to download a free copy. That is brand and the number 2 and the word sell, all as in one word, .online. Once you get on there, let us know your best email and one will be sent out to you immediately. Completely free. You don't have to pay anything for it. So first things first, let's get started. Today, I want to share with you how I learned about the number 1 social media strategy, or the number 1 strategy that works on any social media platform. I'm going to be sharing that story with you, and hopefully you get to learn some cool stuff out of that. So let's get started. This goes back to my journey again in 2010. This is 2 years in my journey. That's around about 2012. So at this point, I am even more buzzing with a lot of energy. I know this is going to work, and then I'm actually sitting now still doing a bit of research, right? So fast forward a year after that, this is the point where I actually quit, came back online, and one of the first things I started looking for was somebody that could teach us how to do this thing, right? And the coolest thing about it is that I started getting some results. So I was full of energy, buzzing, because at this point I had some form of income coming from my full-time work, and I thought, okay, this time I can make this happen. I can make this work, right? And I shared the story about how I went part-time in my online business, or in my business online, and I started seeing results. And the reason why that was because I had very limited time. I had to focus on the things. I was actually forced to focus on the things that only made me some income, and that is what I want to share with you today, and how one of the tools I started using. So this time I'm online trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to start making money, or what tools can I start using to start getting results, massive results in a very short period of time. Then I came across a tool online. Now at this time, this tool focused on Facebook fan pages. This is when Facebook fan pages had just been released, right? So we're going back around about 6-7 years ago, right? Facebook fan pages were still new, and the Facebook was buzzing. I was like, oh my goodness, you got to be in this. Fan pages were the in thing. So a lot of people started using fan pages, but there was not. We were still trying to understand how this whole fan pages work. There were a lot of rules and regulations that Facebook put in place, but they were not really as strict as they used to be, or as they are today, right? So I came across this website. Now, this was a tool being sold by somebody. It was an affiliate was selling this tool, and I actually clicked on the buy button. In fact, when I watched the video, the guy was this was some guy in Australia, and he was explaining how you can build your list on Facebook by using Facebook fan pages. And at this point, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to go, I'll buy this software. And so I actually took my wallet out and bought this software to help me build, generate some leads. At this point, I understood that you need to get people, you need to get an audience. And one of the things you need to get is to build a list. So took my wallet out and I bought this software. When I bought this software, I actually delved straight into the software, started using it. It wasn't really a cool software. It wasn't like a crap software. It was a really cool software. And what the software allowed us to do at the time, Facebook apps were also new. So it allowed us to allowed the user to build this cool software that will collect people's details just by using things we call the like gates. This was the biggest feature of this whole software. So if you had a fan page, you bought this software and you'll be able to install this software to build something called a like gate. Now, the way it worked, I know Coca-Cola started doing this too. They build apps on these fan pages, and these apps allowed us to track people's details. That was one thing it did. Another thing it did was these things look so cool. They look like websites, so you can actually create a whole like website on fan pages. Like, people can see your actual website, or you can create different things. And we could create lead capture pages, we could create all these cool tools, and there were no rules by Facebook. It was really new. So if somebody came onto your fan page, for example, and they clicked the like button, or you put a content and they click like, the moment they click like, the software would capture their details in terms of their email address was captured, their name was captured, and you could use that to build your list. It was the coolest software ever, right? I used this software and actually built my list a little bit. I started getting some people onto my list using this software. Now, the coolest thing I did was I took this software and I went into businesses, and I told businesses, listen, this is what I can do for you. Now, bear in mind, at this point in my journey, I was actually going to businesses, building cool WordPress websites for them, and I was making a little bit of money here and there. So at this point, I'm going to add this onto my arsenal, my arsenal tools, right? So I added it, go into businesses, and I will share the idea with them. The first person I went to when I started using this was a friend, somebody not really so much of a friend, somebody that I looked up to, and he actually still owns a huge business, a media business. So I went to him and I said, listen, this is the coolest thing that's out right now on social media, and I will be able to do this for you if you give me the chance to. And at the time, he was doing a project for a government agency. So I said, I'll be able to do it for this government agency that you're doing this project for. So would you give me the chance to? And he goes, yeah, why not? If you can do this, do this. Because I noticed that they did not have any presence on social media, especially on Facebook. They didn't have any presence where a lot of people were. And if you're a government body, one of the places you can share your message the most is on social media. So I thought, why not create this? Not just create an ordinary fan page, create a fan page that has a website embedded in the fan page. So you can get the government body's website to share information, give more information about how the country looks, how cool it is to go, this things about travel and tourism. So he gave me the go ahead. He said, like, if you can do this, go do it. I offered to do it for free. So I actually created this whole fan page. It was really cool. You could go on this government body's website fan page, and you could see you could apply for things like passports. You could start ask questions to the consulate. You could do so many cool things on this app right on Facebook without leaving Facebook, and it was a cool thing. And once I did that, I knew I could do it for anybody. So I took the same template and I went into businesses, and I told businesses, listen, it's not enough to just build a website. You've got to build a website that pops. You got to build a website that talks, a website that, and I sold these ideas to quite a few businesses. And I remember selling it to a lot of businesses. I got a lot of website design business out of this because it was a complimentary service. Listen, I could do this for you for free and blah, 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 in addition to your websites and da. So I got a lot of business out of that. Now, fast forward a few things. Now, this is when this is all going gravy, it's all going cool. This is the kind of barrier sometimes we create. Sometimes when we're in this industry, we all kind of think that this thing will last forever. And I put all my eggs in this basket. Everything I did was around Facebook like gates. Like, I didn't do anything without focusing on Facebook like gates. And of course, it was a shortcut to build your list, and that's all I focused on. I pitched it to so many businesses, and we started making sales after sales, and it was getting good. This is when my website design business started picking up. Now, I went back. I remember going back to one of my very existing clients that I used to work with, and I've worked with this guy for a couple of years at this point. And I went to him, I said, listen, and he ran a restaurant. I said, listen, your restaurant can be the business if you can do this. And the guy was like, Andy, I trust you. Anything you bring me, I trust is good. I'm going to buy it. So he bought this idea. I built his website, and we built this Facebook thing for him. And this is where things started crumbling down. All my strategy was on Facebook like gates. And the barrier I had was, I had built in me the mentality that this thing will last forever. It's like, this is like the coolest thing ever. It's going to be here. It's not going to go anywhere. But, well, of course, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to go somewhere because it's Facebook, right? And at that time, Facebook didn't make a lot of changes. Now, the problem started happening when we had scammers and spammers who came online, and they started using this whole thing to start, stealing people's details. You get their phone numbers, and the whole thing started getting muddy. Facebook started getting concerned about this because it became like a huge problem. So Facebook said, we're gonna have to put some regulations in place. And the regulations we're going to put in place is like, Facebook started coming up with all these rules, all these regulations, and all of a sudden they stripped off the Facebook like gate feature, right? The ability to be able to pull up people's details was taking off. Facebook just pulled that feature off. Now, the biggest problem I had was my biggest client, this guy who used to be my existing client. He was my biggest client because he paid quite a lot for this whole website based on this particular feature, because I remember we did some coupons for him, we did some cool stuff. And when Facebook pulled off that feature and said, well, sorry, we're not going to allow you to do this anymore because it's being abused, this guy got really crossed. I remember him calling me on the phone and going, Andy, my website is not working. I'm like, what do you mean it's not working? No, Andy, this thing is not working. So we set up a meeting, and I went to meet this guy. Hi, Mary, how you doing? I went to meet this guy up, and this guy was fuming because, like, I never sold anything to this guy that ever went away at any point in our business relationship. And that really went sour because he thought, okay, you told me about this, you told me this, you told me this. And I actually advised him to put all his eggs on that because it was working at the time. And don't get me wrong, Facebook, you can still get this feature on Facebook, but there are certain things they pulled off. And he had coupons. We had all these amazing things we had built into his like gate. But unfortunately, Facebook pulled that off, which means it affected his business big time. So he was not happy. He was threatening a whole bunch of things, but unfortunately, there was nothing I could do about it. It was the most uncomfortable part of my journey in business. Somebody that had trusted me for years and years, all of a sudden the relationship goes sour, and he's threatening legal actions and all this kind of cool stuff. Not very pleasant stuff. But luckily for me, I had fail-safe myself by creating a contract, and I took this contract off of a guy that used to build websites. It's just a simple contract, and in that contract it stated that, listen, we don't control what happens online, and if anything happens online, unfortunately we cannot do anything about that. That is the little clause that actually saved me, right? I would have been in court for a bunch of, paying this guy a bunch of money, but that didn't happen because of that little thing we put in. That was really lucky for me because I didn't even look at that until later on. I started looking into the contract when he started threatening legal action. I was like, let me look into exactly what's in here. Then I found out. So that relationship is gone sour, and I've never had any one of my clients that actually left me out of anger or out of, your business was not good and stuff like that. But it happened. Okay. So Facebook decides to change the rules and regulations around building apps. Now it's more complicated now to build apps on Facebook. So that kind of like shattered most of my website design business. We had to go back to scratch and start going back to all these clients and apologizing to all of them. And I had to say to them, listen, unfortunately, Facebook has changed their rules and regulations. It has nothing to do with us, but there's nothing we can do about it. I lost quite a few clients and a lot of paying people on that. So at this point, I'm thinking, what really works on social media? I'm not really sure what works on social media anymore. Like, it was the like gates, and then it went into a point where back in the day you could go on Facebook and then you will go into the about page on Facebook, and when you get into the about page, Facebook revealed all this information: the person's phone number, where they lived. All this information was free online, and for someone like me who was like a sales guy, that was like, oh, that was like haven. All you had to do is to go on Facebook, pick up the phone, and start dialing on Facebook, and it was so amazing that we could do that. But unfortunately, again, people abused that power, and Facebook started putting more restrictions in place. So when restriction comes, honest business people like us, honest entrepreneurs who want to really make a difference, get hurt. And when we get hurt, we have to re-improvise. Now, for me, I couldn't re-improvise. I just didn't have any exit door, back door, and like I said, that was the mistake I made, was put everything in the Facebook like gate. I know that the company that I used to sell this, the guy that used to sell that software, actually went out of business because he did like some really cool things around this app, and he put a lot of focus on this app that when these changes came, he couldn't do anything, or he was crippled, right? Now, the lesson here is that you should have at least more than one thing to do. And this is when I started looking out for, okay, what else can we do online right now that we wouldn't get hurt when regulations change? Because remember, Google came, people were making money on Google, and Google changed their regulations, and all of a sudden people get hurt, people lost money, right? And then we had MySpace disappeared, and like the online space is not like permanent. Things change. But I've noticed that there are certain people that no matter what changes online, yeah, they are still able to bounce back and make more money. It's just like something happens, they bounce back, and all of a sudden they're back on track. And these people have something different, and I do not know what it was. So I started searching. This is the time I started looking online, looking to find somebody who can help us. And I came across this guy. I shared this story before. Came across this guy. This guy was so cool, and although he wasn't the most presented guy on the planet, this guy, I clicked with this guy, and this guy was talking about blogging, and he made millions and millions and millions of dollars online just by creating content. So he introduced me to this university, and in this university, I started learning some really cool things. Now, if you want to know about this university, guys, you really got to start taking your learning on another level. This is when the game started changing for me, right? So I went in there, and 3 things I learned that was like the aha moment that actually helped me bounce back. 3 things. Number 1 thing I learned was how to brand. You have to brand yourself. There is no way of getting business online as an entrepreneur or home business owner if you haven't learned how to do that. And then the second thing I actually learned from there is to place yourself as the expert in your industry. Because let's just face it, and I knew this from a consultative sales perspective, because I did some consultative selling. People do not trust you unless they know that this guy can solve our problem. He can fix our problem for us. This guy is the guy I need in my business. And this is what I learned in that business. It actually reinforced it. Be the expert in your business. People have to trust you enough to say, I will give you my money, or I will pay you to teach me something, or I'll pay you to point me in the right direction. And in this university, the only thing they emphasized on is the only way you can do this is by being the expert, branding yourself and being the expert. So this is when I was like, aha, I have been looking at the wrong thing. I have been looking at the shortcut. I've been looking at like the quick fix way of doing things. And people do not really want quick fix. Like quick fix, really, they come and they go. And Facebook taught me that lesson very well, right? It comes and it goes. If you want quick fix may come, but it's going to go as quickly as it came. So the only thing you can do as an entrepreneur, a home business person, like somebody trying to build your business online, is to be the expert. That's the only way, is to master your craft and know how to do it to a point where you can actually teach somebody. So I came up with a plan. Now, this is what, in this university, I actually learned a three-step formula: invest, learn, teach. And after using this for a while, I had to create my own way of how this thing worked for me. I wasn't very comfortable with the invest time to learn something and go teach it. It worked fine, but I wasn't really confident because I had to put myself in a position where I wasn't good at it, and it just didn't resonate with me. It's like, if I'm going to teach something to somebody, at least I should know it works. I should know that if I'm going to tell you something, it's going to work. And my conscience, my subconscious mind always sabotaged me when I did that. So what I decided to do was to fine tune this thing a little bit. I just put a little step in there. So invest, learn, get good at it, and then teach it. Now, when I did this, I decided to use it on blog creation, because at the time I was building website for people. So I was thinking, okay, why don't we use this for blog creation? Because most people in the home business industry need to create content to attract people, and I know that blogging works for that. So I applied it to blogging, and I got good at it. I did it over and over and over and over and over, to the point where I could literally build a customized blog. I'm not talking about WordPress one, a customized one, in under an hour. I remember there was a day I did it in 30 minutes, right? So that's how good I got at this thing. So I knew, I was highly confident I could teach somebody to do the same. So I started teaching people how to do this. I started teaching a few home business entrepreneurs. You could do it this way. This is how you could do it, and this is how you could do it. You don't have to depend on an agency to do this for you. You can do this yourself. And they went out and they were getting the same results. Like, okay, in a matter of an hour or two, some people do it 2 hours, 3 hours, the thing was out, right? And I remember the first time I tried to do this, it took me nearly a whole day. I remember there's another time I tried to do it, and this was the longest I ever tried to do it. And this is when I was learning. It took me months just to launch one. But fast forward a few years' time, I can do it in a matter of under an hour. Okay, so people started using this and it started working. And so what I actually started doing is, okay, I'm going to educate people around this. Now, and this is when the invest, learn, teach, module started really working, because I invested time to learn something. I got good at it and I teach it, and all of a sudden I'm doing it and I'm getting more results. And as a result of that, I was making sales, I was generating leads, I started talking to more people. So I started thinking to myself, okay, this is really cool. Now, after creating this whole thing, and I know the conflict was, okay, it takes somebody so much time to get good at something, or even decently good. It took so much time. So do I just go out and tell people, go invest time to learn something and teach it? Or do you take something you already know that you know works and go and teach somebody? Now, if you're going to pick something that you already know and go teach somebody, sometimes it may not be related to your industry, or it may not be related to the business that you're building. So after deliberating on this a little bit, I was like, okay, I think it works better if I can pick something that I already know, right? Something that I can present as the value, and then I can teach others, right? And I did this I noticed that's what I was doing with blog creation, to the point where the blog creation actually became a product that I kind of like sell online. So once you start doing that, once you start investing time, or you take something you already know, right, and teach others, right, it's all about learning how to brand yourself properly, placing yourself as the expert. And once you place yourself as the expert, people can trust you, right? I remember, if I go to client's house, now I'm in the financial industry right now as an offline business. One of my business I do, if I actually go and meet somebody and I start talking to them, the only reason why they decide to pull out their credit card, give me their bank details, or decide for me to come be their trusted advisor, is because they know I'm an expert on the subject. Or even if I'm not an expert, I know more than they know on the subject. So if I know more, they're more likely to trust me and get me to advise them, rather than just leaving it, right? So once you find something you're good at, yeah, that's the whole trick. Find something you're good at, present it in a way that relates to your business, right? And start teaching others. And this is the formula you can use. And once you can use that formula, and the way what happened after I did that is over this journey, I transitioned. I kind of like two things happened. Number one is I became more confident because now I am sharing something I'm good at. I'm not just sharing something somebody just told me yesterday that I'm not sure even it works, right? I am sharing something I'm good at, and I know I'm good at it, and I know it works. That's how confident I am. I can give you a money back guarantee because I know it works, right? That's number one. Number two, I started understanding the importance of branding. This is some of the benefits I got. The importance of placing yourself or branding yourself. And number three thing that happened is I started making some income. I started generating leads. I started getting people asking me, Andy, I want you to mentor me. I think I had like a few people last week saying that. And this is what happens when you present yourself in the space that you already know. People start approaching you for advice. And that's when you become the trusted advisor, right? So the whole thing boils down to branding, and branding right. And the branding, one thing I learned about branding, it's not just about beautiful frou-frou colors and all of that brand identity. That's brand identity. It's completely different, right? So that's why I took time to compile this ebook. And I've told you in the beginning. So if you decide to use this as a strategy, and it works on any social media, trust me, look online on any social media today. The people actually getting results on social media today are the people taking time to educate people and let people know what I know, like placing themselves as the expert in that space. Once you place yourself in that space, people trust you. And once people trust you, they don't mind doing business with you. And that's where it is. So it doesn't matter what social media you're using. It's like either you're using Facebook, Twitter, whatever you're using, like you got to be good at it. Once you're good at it, somebody knows that you know it, they are able to trust you to give you whatever time for you to speak to them. And that's what the brand to sell is all about. So brand to sell is all about get good at something, place yourself as the expert, and learn how to convert that traffic into sales, right? Because there's no point of branding if you can't sell. And that's what brand to sell is all about. So if you want to get a copy of the free book, it's a free ebook. Go to brand2sell.online. That's brand, the word brand, BRAND, and the number 2, and then the word sell, SELL.online. Once you get there, you will be able to download a free copy to that ebook. And I guarantee you, once you start going through that book, you will understand why it's important for you to brand, right? That book, I most of the concepts in there I had to pay for it, but you're getting it for free today. So go on to that website, brand2sell.online. Put your best email in where you want us to send it to, and once you put your email in, you will get your copy. So thank you so much. Have an amazing week coming up. Thank you so much for the guys watching in the group. I appreciate you. Guys on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. The link will be below or below if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're on Facebook, above. And then if you're on the podcast, please feel free to check the description and the link will be there as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. New lesson, new blessing. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.